Now, for more on this, we are being joined by Mr. Jayant Krishna, CEO of the Foundation for Advancing Science and Technology, live from Delhi. Very warm welcome to World Business. What's your understanding of a freebie in the Indian context?
Well, I mean, let's understand, freebies and welfare schemes, they're often clubbed together and they're talked about in the same breath. This is what the Prime Minister Modi calls as the Revdi culture. So the Reserve Bank of India has estimated that different states roll out, different quantum for freebies, and the range is almost 0.1% of GDP to 2.7% of state GDP is what states roll out in the form of freebies. Punjab and Andhra Pradesh, they top because they spend more than 2% of their GDP on these freebies, and they account for almost 8 to 9% of the revenue receipts of those states, which they spend on subsidies, I think let's understand, freebies add to the public debt burden. It causes, revenue deficit as well. And it increases the fiscal deficit in the budget, And a lot of people believe that if you give freebies, people will consume more and it will add to the GDP of the state. Well, let me tell you, most of the freebies do not result into any significant increase in purchasing power and leading to enhanced GDP. So that doesn't happen. It's a shame. I think it's a gift culture. I would even go to the extent of a country which is driven by election after election, be it the Lok Sabha elections or the state elections. I think it is something like bribing the electorate out of government funds. So I fundamentally believe that this is surely, there has to be a consensus among political parties otherwise, and every political party wants to outsmart the other one, in freebies, I think that's what my take is.
Mr. Krishna, I just wanted to sort of go back to what you mentioned, that of course freebies and welfare schemes, well, they are obviously different. I wanted you to just establish those differences here, what makes them different, given the definition is quite hazy between the two.
So I think, let's look at what kind of things normally constitute freebie. The farm loan waivers for farmers, MSME interest waivers for smaller industries, free laptops, free mobiles, free transport to women, government jobs without, on considerations other than merit, cooking gas subsidies, electricity is a huge subsidized electricity or free electricity, to farmers, The very talk of revival of the old pension scheme, free education, healthcare, skill development for free, or even if you look at what Government of India has announced that the free food grains for 5 more years, the total cost on the country is of the order of rupees, 11 lakh, crores, So I think these are all collectively called freebies. And as far as your question goes, that what are welfare schemes out of it, I would still feel the money that the government spends on education, healthcare, skill development, science and technology, these kind of things should, to my mind, be kept away from freebies, because if education is given for free or healthcare is given for free, that is actually the government's responsibility. So I think these kind of things should constitute the welfare scheme and not freebies. Even if you look at the transport for women, free transport for women, actually there have been studies which have shown that if you give free transport to women, it leads to enhanced women labor, participation in the labor force of the country. So I think one has to. There is a very, very fine difference between the freebie and the welfare scheme. But I think it is it's not very difficult to differentiate. And I'm all for welfare schemes in a welfare state, but surely not for freebies at all.
Mr. Krishna, now, as far as a government's working is concerned, how can a government balance welfare schemes with fiscal discipline? To just establish a better understanding of that.
So I think too many of freebies, as I said earlier, they enhance the fiscal deficit, they increase the revenue deficit of the government, and add to the public debt burden. So I think, to my mind, it will not happen, because different political parties in a country where elections happen virtually all the time, I think it will not happen. Left to political parties, it will not happen. So either the Election Commission of India or the matter is also now with Supreme Court. I think they have to formulate some broad guidelines and cap. They could bracket some. First of all, define what are welfare schemes. Those should be kept out. But those which are pure freebies, those should be capped as a percentage of the state's GDP, and it should not be one cap because the states could be bracketed in multiple categories. The poorer states where the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and backward classes are more. The poverty is more, per capita income is lower. Surely those states need more. So there, the cap could be, let's say 1%, 1.5%. But in the richer states like Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Telangana, these kind of states, it should be not more than 0.5% of the budget. And otherwise, it's a very, very bad game, and it's a zero-sum game to my mind. It may help political parties win elections, but political parties win elections or lose elections on freebies. But who loses? India as a nation loses. To my mind, these guidelines are very, very important. Otherwise, this is only going to worsen in years to come.
All right, that was Mr. Jayant Krishna joining us from New Delhi. Thank you so much for sharing all your insights, sir.